Hey friend, it is Kate here. Thank you so much for jumping on my channel and joining me here today. It is day 7 of our 30-day New Year to Love You challenge. Now, if you did my last 30-day challenge, Sundays were also self-care Sundays, but we did a plethora of different self-care activities or things that I like to do. This challenge, we're going to focus on just one kind of self-care form, and that is myofascial release, working with foam rollers, with balls, with different stretching things to do that really wonderful and honestly very needed work in our body. If you're someone that is physically active a lot, or honestly if you're sitting at your desk a lot, working on myofascial release can be a huge game changer. It is one of the few things that I will say I think it's worth buying some of the props that are out there, and I'm not just trying to get you to buy things, but having a foam roller at your disposal, having a few balls around your house can just make a world of difference. I know a lot of us are stuck at home, maybe in a lockdown right now again, and when I was truly quarantined, having a lot of these props and knowing how to use them made a world of difference in how I felt, especially for like my hips, my upper body. Now, today's class is really all about the upper body. So for any of my friends that are probably working from home right now, kind of hunched over, this class is one of my favorite things to do when I have been at my desk quite a bit. So I do these things on a couple of times a week to help open up across my chest. So you do need a foam roller, and go ahead, grab that little guy, roll out your mat. Let's get started. So we'll start in a seated position, just nice and easy, and we're just going to wake up our upper body before we get to our lovely foam roller. So come to your most comfortable seated position, let your hands hang heavy on your side. Just take a moment to check in with what's going on in your body today. Do we have any tension anywhere? Do you feel like you're kind of slumped forward or maybe overarching? Instead, I want you to pull the navel in. Think of lifting up and out of your waist. Feel your sitting bones connect to the ground beneath you. Maybe even give yourself a little wiggle, a little swivel side to side to feel those connections of your sitting bones down on the ground. Imagine I'm standing behind you, pulling your ears straight up to the sky. Take an inhale, roll your shoulders up. Exhale, let them slide down. Again, inhale, roll them up. Exhale, slide them down. Once or twice more, just like that. And then let's take it in the opposite direction. So roll them forward and back. And just as fast or slow as whatever feels good in your body is perfectly fine. No hurry, no rush. And then let the shoulders hang heavy. Again, sit for a moment again, just tall and straight, low belly in, ribs together. Lots of space from shoulder to shoulder. Inhale, reach your hands all the way up, and let's grow out of our sitting bones even more. I find lightly internally rotating my pinkies towards one another kind of helps to spiral me up to the sky even more. Take a big inhale here. As you exhale, clasp your hands together behind your head and wing your elbows open wide. Now, do you naturally kind of curl back down when we allowed our hands to come behind us? I want you to think of still lifting up and out of the floor and almost pressing the elbows straight back behind you. Take a great big inhale. Big breath out. Ever so lightly tuck your chin to your chest just so we can lengthen through our cervical spine. And then I want you to dip your right elbow over towards the right, lifting the left elbow up. Does that elbow want to curl in? We want to keep them parted away from one another. Big inhale. Exhale, tone the belly to pull yourself up. Lightly again, tuck that chin to the chest just a little bit so you can lengthen through that cervical spine. And then take your stretch over to the other side. Enjoy that great big full body stretch, and then pull yourself back. Again, we're going to go over to the right, and now this time take a big inhale. As you exhale, I want you to fold your elbows towards one another, kind of curl or reach towards the right, and then open your elbows up, look forward again. Exhale, pull the belly button in. Think of almost parting your shoulder blades behind your body as those elbows come in towards one another. And then kiss the shoulder blades together as you open. One more time, close it in. Now this time, instead of lifting up, we're just going to lightly round forward into a gentle seated forward fold. Restack the spine. Open your elbows side to side. Again, a light tuck of the chin. Dip the left elbow down, lifting the right. I'm thinking about pressing my right sitting bone down while I lift that right elbow up. And then same thing, it's kind of like I'm thinking of my elbows, my upper arms, as like a little book that's opening and closing. So I'm getting a little rotation from my belly button up my spine. And then again, I'm thinking about parting my shoulder blades behind me as I bring my elbows in, and then kissing them together as I fan my elbows away from one another. Last time, pull it here, take a big inhale, roll your head forward, find that easy seated forward fold. This time, release the hands from your head. Use your hands to push yourself all the way up. How are we feeling after that? Even just a short amount of movement can make such a big difference along our upper body. So now comes some lovely, fun foam roller. I want you to sit long ways on your mat, just like I am right now. And then I want you to take the foam roller to the front right corner of the mat. Do you see that now this front corner, I've kind of made a triangle shape with my foam roller? If it's parallel or if we've kind of tipped it back the other way, we want it in this spot of our mat, if that makes sense. Once we get it there, all I want you to do is lie on your right side and bring the foam roller underneath your armpit. Now, just depending on your body and how we're feeling today, you might get here and immediately start to feel lots of sensations, or we might feel nothing. And we can always play with how exactly that foam roller is positioned. But usually for me, starting in that kind of triangle shape that I make with my mat is the best spot for this little guy to be. Now, I want you to take your hand out and away. Your palm is straight up to the sky. And then other hand can be on your hip, on your head, or you could even bring it right here. Personally, I like to take it behind my head just so I give myself a little extra support for the neck. And then all I want us to do is start by lifting and lowering our hand up and down. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I feel a lot of sensation right here. You may or may not know, but I do a lot of aerial work, climbing on silks and fabrics and things like that. And so upper body myofascial release is very important to me. My upper body needs it, and most of us do, even if we don't do a whole lot of aerial like I did, or any aerial. We mostly all need this because we're often hunched over at our desk. Now, eventually, I want you to lift the palm up, hold it there, and then just start by circling the hand around. I'm fanning my fingertips wide. I'm imagining I'm holding something heavy in that hand. I'm activating all my muscles. And then go ahead and pause and reverse that circle in the other direction. Again, we might be feeling a lot or nothing, and that's okay. Maybe we need to adjust and lightly move the foam roller a little more perpendicular or in a different direction, or maybe we just don't have very much tension here, which good for you if that is the case. And then just let that hand hang heavy on the floor. Do take your hand behind your head if it isn't there already. And then from here, all I want us to, very similar to what we were doing just a moment ago, we're going to curl in, taking that elbow with us. And then not only are we going to press it back away from us, we'll roll onto our backside and open up. So it's just a small little rotation, back and forth. And this can be as big or small, as fast or slow as you so choose. Remember, each spot that we're coming to, it's not about finding a perfect shape or a perfect style of movement. Instead, it's kind of giving yourself permission to explore, to just find what feels good on your body today. And then eventually from here, come on back to center and slowly roll yourself up. We'll go ahead and take our foam roller to our second side. So now it's on the front left corner of my mat. And just like I did on the first side, I'm going to lie on my hips. Take the foam roller underneath my armpit. It's kind of up in the crook of my armpit there. And maybe just hold here for a moment, see how that's feeling, what feels different from the other side. And then again, hand can be underneath the head. You could put it on your hips or wherever really feels best. But eventually, I'm going to make sure my palm is facing up to the sky and then lengthen my arm, reach my fingertips out. and then pull it back. Reach and lengthen out and pull it back. And now both sides of the body can be so different. So maybe on one side we felt oh so sensational as we lifted up and down, and maybe this side we don't have quite as much, and that's okay. We're very imbalanced creatures, as you know. We're never going to be perfect from one side to the other. But it is good to take note of those things. You can kind of learn something about yourself. Maybe you have a habit of slouching to one side, or you always carry your bag on one side of your body. All these little things can add up and cause some bigger inconsistencies. You could also have an injury on one side. There's many reasons out there. Now, last time, lift the hand up, pause. Think of something heavy sitting in the palm of your hand, reach it away, and start to find those little circles there. It's like my fingers have magnets attached to the tips of them and they're being pulled away. Reverse those circles. And we can go in both directions a handful of times. You might find that one side you want to spend a little longer than the other. It's okay. Do as much or as little as you like to. It's not a perfect thing we're going to. It's finding what works for you and your body. Now eventually we'll just let that hand hang, and then we're going to do our little curl. So I'm pulling my elbow in, and then I'm rolling back and looking up to the sky. Pulling my elbow in, and then rolling back. And this is a little bit of a twist for our torso, so if you get a few pops in your back, know that that happens to me too. Eventually, as you feel even from both sides, let that go and roll yourself all the way up to a seat. Now, this is a little bit of a funny one, but a spot that a lot of us don't get to on our upper body is across our pecs, especially as women. Sometimes even when we get massages, masseuses can be a little sensitive right there. But I find a lot of my newer moms out there, or moms in general, have a lot of tension around this area while holding baby. So this can be a really nice thing to do to break up some of that feeling. Now, I'm going to come up onto my knees, but if you've got sad knees today and you do not want to lift onto your knees, that's perfectly fine. I just think I get a little bit more leverage when I do it this way. You are going to come up and you're going to tip the foam roller to the side. We're going to use the lip of the foam roller to go across the front of our chest. Now we can play with how high, how low it is in relation to our clavicle and kind of the very top of our breast. But I'm just going to lightly hug it into my body and hold there for a minute, just putting a small amount of pressure. And again, maybe you press here and you're like, I'm not feeling as much. Maybe I need to move it up a little higher. Maybe I need to send it a little lower. But I like to give it a good little hug into my body and then start to carry it over from one side to the other, back and forth. Easy and gentle. And we might, again, find, whoa, this is very sensational. Or maybe we're not feeling anything and you're thinking to yourself, what is Kait making me do today? And see, I will say, this feels really good on me. I don't know what it is. I tend to carry a lot of tension across my chest, especially in the spot where your armpit and your chest kind of meet. So what I like to do after I've done a few passes across my chest is I lift my arm up and I bring the foam roller into my armpit and then back out. In and out. And you might find that we might want to kind of hold it in a place and then move the arm around while I lightly hug it down into my body. Or it might feel good to keep that movement going. It's really about what works for you and your body. If I didn't say this in the intro, because I can't remember now, but you're welcome to make all the faces you want to while doing myofascial release. You're also welcome to moan and groan all you want to too, because guess what? Nobody can see you and nobody can hear you, so it's okay. Again, maybe we want to take it to that other side, bring it in to that little space right there. Oh, that feels extra sensitive for me right now. And then again, I kind of just move my arm around, seeing what feels good in my body at this moment in time. And today can feel totally different than yesterday or tomorrow. It's absolutely fine if we notice something different. Maybe you slept a little funny. Maybe you're at your desk longer than you're used to. There are lots of reasons, and it's A-okay. No big deal. Now, eventually, just go back and forth a few more times. And again, you don't have to be up on your knees. We could be doing this down. I just find I get a little bit more extra oomph if I am on my knees. But eventually, we are actually going to drop down to a seat, and we're going to spin the foam roller. And I'm going to come to this side. So we're going to think of the foam roller as almost a little shelf for our shoulders behind our body in this next activity. And what I want you to do is bring it right behind your back and lay down on it. Now, the best way that I've found the kind of sweet spot for me is if I punch my hands up, I should feel my shoulder blade kind of wing into it, the tip of it. Once I've found that spot, kind of push it back and forth, and it can be a little awkward, no worries. You're going to take your hands behind your head just like we started class. And I simply want you to relax back. Now, your feet can really be wherever feels best. You might want to keep them planted on the floor like I do, or let your knees open out to the side, or elongate the legs. Honestly, whatever feels good for your body. I like to have them planted on the floor because they're going to go there eventually in the next little spot. But this can be one of my favorite places just to relax back. Now, some people do like to release their hands from their head and really let their head and neck fall back. I'm more of a fan of just keeping my head relaxing in my hands, so I don't take it too extreme in the neck. But like we did our little side stretch, that little lateral stretch when we were seated, we're going to do the same thing. So I want you to tip your right elbow over and lift your left elbow up. Now, do you see I'm not curling up? It's not a tuck of my tummy. It's not a curl up at all. Instead, it's a side stretch over to the right and then back to center, and a side stretch over to the left, back to center. So it's almost like you're making your body like a little half rainbow, a little candy cane shape. Just gently going back and forth, whatever feels good. And then eventually I do like to bring myself to center. And then from here, it's going to look like we're doing some big Pilates kind of curl ups, but I'm not concerned about your abdominal muscles at all. Instead, it's a very light roll of the foam roller underneath your little shoulder blades and then lightly on top of them, just back and forth. Now, this can feel really, really lovely to do nice and slow. You might also find it feels good to roll up and pause, just holding here. But eventually, I like to roll up and lift my hips very gently off the ground. Again, it's not about really strengthening my body here. And then I pull the foam roller up towards the top of my shoulders and pass it right underneath the shoulder blades. So we're not going down on the low back at all. It's staying easy up and down those shoulders, back and forth. Now, another thing that can be nice to explore and experiment here is taking the elbows not away, but pulling them in. I actually find if I pull them in and curl up a little bit more, I part the space between my shoulder blades, and I find a little extra space to kind of massage into. Keeping my elbows winging towards one another, opening across the back of my body, almost trying to part the shoulders as much as possible, and lightly going side to side. And again, you do not have to look like me. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't you worry. It's not about that. And you can just explore what feels good. Maybe rolling lightly back and forth with your head kind of cocked over to one side, or straight up and down, playing with where we want those elbows to be. Remember, it's all about just finding what works for you and your body. Now, I will totally admit to you that I could hang out here for probably a good 20 minutes alone, but the next place we're coming to is just lying on our back and bringing the foam roller underneath your head. Now, again, legs can really be wherever feels best. Sometimes it's nice to knock your knees in and lightly press the small of your back down and just take your hands wherever. You might feel like you've got a double chin here. It probably looks like I do, but you know what? I don't even care because this honestly feels so delightful in my cervical spine. And now either just holding here, I kind of think about tipping my chin to my chest. This is one of the only times when I say really tuck that chin in, because we are just trying to lengthen through that cervical spine. And I want you to imagine that you're Pinocchio with the longest nose reaching straight towards the wall away from you. And very slowly, very carefully, I want you to point your little long Pinocchio nose from one corner of the room back to center and then the other corner of the room. So just slowly, easily back and forth. And it can also feel nice to gently circle the nose around, both directions. Holding in any one spot that feels good. Maybe just closing your eyes and letting yourself relax here. I will say that sometimes if I have a headache, it can feel really nice just to let my head sit on the foam roller, give it that support, and find that space through the back of my neck. And then slowly, when and if you're ready, if we want to stay here longer, go ahead. But it can also feel nice just to take some gentle twisting through the lower portion of your body with your head, again, just hanging out on the foam roller. Eventually rolling to one side, pushing yourself up to a seat. Unless you want to hang out there longer, in which case, you do you. But otherwise, find your gentle, easy seat again, just like we started class. Very lightly tuck your chin into your chest and think about lifting up through the very back of your head. Again, if you give yourself a double chin here, who cares? Take a big inhale. I want you to exhale, really let the chin fall to the chest. And again, still think about almost a string attached to the very back of your skull, lifting up and over. And then from here, roll your right ear to your right shoulder. As you do so, think about lifting the left ear up and pressing the left shoulder down. So it's like I'm trying to part the space along that left side of my neck. Big deep inhale. Exhale, chin back to chest. Still think about lifting the back of the head up. And then when you're ready, roll your left ear to left shoulder. I am lifting my right ear. I am pressing my right shoulder down. Come on back. One more time, go over to the right. Roll your right ear to right shoulder, hold. My left shoulder is pressing down. My left ear is lifting up. And then again, I want you to think about your little Pinocchio nose just slightly pointing down towards your shoulder. And then back, forward. Bring it down. This should feel really relaxing, really gentle. The nice thing about all of the stretches, all of the little myofascial release that we were doing with the foam roller is you don't have to do the entire series to get something out of it. Maybe you just remember that this feels so good in your neck, and the next time you're sitting at your computer, you just take a gentle moment or two to do a few little head rolls and mindful kind of nodding. Now eventually, bring your nose back forward again, lift the ear, drop the shoulder, roll your chin to chest, and take it to the other side. Same thing, shoulder down, ear up, and then lightly drop the nose down and look forward. But again, just a few moments can make a huge difference in how you feel. Sometimes just taking a moment or two to be mindful can really improve how your posture and honestly even how your mood is. Let's face it, if we're being nice to our body throughout our day, usually we're in a little bit better of a mood. I can tell you that oftentimes I am in not a very good mood before I teach a class, and then I feel so much better after I finish teaching. Last one. Look forward. Roll your chin to chest. Bring your gaze upright. As always, give yourself a pat on the back. Thank yourself for doing something so good and just for you. I really hope you enjoyed our first Self-Care Sunday in this series. As I mentioned, I really think that myofascial release is an incredibly important part of self-care, especially if you are going to be active all the time doing Pilates, yoga, barre with me. It can be so incredibly gentle, restorative, so wonderful to learn how to use some of these props and tools that we have at our disposal when we can't go get a massage all the time, as much as I'd love to. I wish I could get a massage every day. I can't do that. I can roll on these guys whenever I want. As always, give yourself a pat on the back, thank yourself, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow.